Hey, what's going on? Good evening, everybody. This is Marcus K. Jr. back with another episode of We Need to Talk. This is episode 453. Shout out to my replay gang. Shout out to everybody who's been listening so far, paying attention. Your energy is much appreciated. Hopefully, you all are in the best of spaces, doing well, having and maintaining that positive expectation over your life. It goes a hell of a long way. So always continue to stay in tune with your emotional space and tend to it as necessary. And that brings me to tonight's topic: raising your inner child. What may not be apparent to you, no pun intended, is that part of the reason, or a major aspect of the reason why many of you are going through toxic dating cycles, dating the same types of individuals, finding yourselves attracted to certain people who fall below your standards, has to do with a malnourishment of your inner child. Meaning, during your actual childhood, your growth was stunted, damaged, fractured, limited by your upbringing, your family environment, neglect, abuse, etc., abandonment. And as we know, parents aren't perfect, people aren't perfect, and none of us came from the perfect home, perfect household. So the blueprint for our life, the programming for our expectations, came from that childhood environment, specifically ages 0 to 7, where we gained a lot of our subconscious programming. So whatever was needed and not received, or whatever damage was done, we built our personality, our viewpoints, our worldview around that information, that data, to create the blueprint for the rest of our lives. And many of us are still maintaining the thought processes, patterns, and principles of that time frame. So in essence, our inner child needs a lot of support and could need a raising up, because our parents may not have been able to do so properly. And the reason that this connects to your patterns is because whatever is lacking, you are looking for in another person. So whatever that set of core beliefs may be, whatever that mindset is, whatever was drilled in your head by either spoken word, physicality, or just lack of attention, manifested itself in an insatiable campaign for that energy. The problem is, the people you're attracting have similar voids. So you're not actually gaining a filling of the void that you have. You are actually gaining a counterpart to keeping the wounds open, and a counterpart to keeping the voids alive and well, and putting yourself in harm's way, especially to experience more damage, more pain. As we know, one of the most clear examples of this is the empath and the narcissist. The empath is the representation of an exposed inner child. So if we think about children, they're very susceptible to energy. They're very susceptible to and impressionable to what's going on around them, what's said to them, what's not said to them. And the same can be said about empaths. They're known for absorbing energy, wanting to help, right? How many empaths seek narcissists in an attempt to help them, to support them, to help them find their heart again? These may not be spoken outwardly or overtly, but these may be, in a lot of cases, the underlying draw that makes you attracted to narcissists in a lot of ways, and that also not feeling loved, and which would make you susceptible to the love bombing phase when it comes to narcissists. The whole thing is an interconnection that's based on certain malnourishment of the inner child, right? Now, do we want to lose elements like caring, like being supportive, like empathy? No, we don't want to lose that. We just don't want to have it in such an extreme that it puts us in harm's way, right? When we're talking about raising the inner child, for me, it means creating balance, because children, one of the weaknesses is they are susceptible, they are defenseless largely to a high degree. And as an adult, you have to build on your boundaries, protecting your essence, protecting your energy, protecting your standards. So there has to be a firmness. If we're looking at the relationship between child and parent, we want to be able to take the best of both worlds. So you can parent, in essence, your own inner child by teaching, in a way, firmness, structure, limits, and boundaries, right? That's what the empath needs to hear, because a lot of times there's boundary crossing, encroachment. A lot of times narcissistic, partners will cross boundaries all day. Will just take territory over your psyche. Sometimes your house, even job, will just enter into your world recklessly and without asking for permission. And that's symbolic of what needs to occur, which means there needs to be defenses, there needs to be boundaries enforced, and there needs to be an unconditional caring space. And that's not something that we seek outward. That's something that we have to first create the environment of. We can't get a soulmate that mimics our unconditional love of self if we don't have unconditional love of self. So this has to be born within us. This has to be awakened within us. This has to be cultivated, and it has to be a focus. The problem is, a lot of times when it comes to relationships, the focus becomes to get in one as soon as possible, to find somebody as soon as possible, to check our watch. When's the person coming? When are they on their way? And the problem with that is, when there's a level of desperation to find love outwardly, that means there's not enough love inwardly. There's not enough love internally, which would denote imbalance. The keys are in fear and imbalance. When things are going wrong, I always look for the fear and imbalance, because they work hand in hand, and they often work to derail things in a consecutive fashion, continuously. And the only way we can bring things back to where we want them to be and to generate our own happiness is to create a sense of balance, and not to allow imbalanced actions such as somebody walking all over you, getting second, third, fourth, fifth chances, and imposing their will and agenda over you because at one point in childhood you had to endure something like that. This is your time to truly grow inside. And it's almost a literal translation. We always talk about healing and growth, but if the inner child is still operating in a childlike fashion to an extreme, then there needs to be elements that have to be grown, that have to be grown up, that have to be caught up to where you are chronologically. Look at the human growth process. Children don't stay children forever. It's an era, it's a time frame, but it doesn't stick. The growth process is natural. And if it's stunted, there's a reason for that. If you're stuck in a childlike energy or outlook, then there's a problem. Something happened, but it's not something that can't be corrected. So if this is indeed something that you struggle with, something that is a pain point for you, if what I was saying definitely resonates, be sure to click the link in the description and reach out. Reach out to me. I definitely would love to connect with you via Zoom and just talk strategies. Excuse me. Because this type of thing it's not a one and done. It's not a quick fix. It's not something that I can give you all of the strategies at one time. This is something that it's a gradual process, but it's one that can occur, and it's one that you're capable of doing and completing, because you owe it to yourself, you owe it to your inner child, you owe it to the rest of your life, and you owe it to your peak self, your emerging self. We are here to grow, we're here to evolve, we're here to always be seeking mastery, seeking to overcome things that may hold us back or that may keep us stuck perpetually in difficult spaces, especially if that's childhood. And you may have been defenseless back then, but you're not now. So, now is definitely the time to focus on these things and focus on making changes. So if that's what your aim is, definitely make contact. Click the link in my bio to set up a meeting. And shout out to all of you who are just working to overcome in general, doing your best, congratulating yourself, acknowledging yourself throughout this process. It's definitely the time to do so. I've been hitting some personal breakthroughs as of late. Spending some time just with myself, more so in just in a solitude, and just tapping into some areas, and being appreciative of all of the signs, all of the things that are working in my favor. And it's it's a beautiful thing when things come into alignment, clarity is gained, and you are able to begin new processes, the renewal process, the rebirth process, along with recharging at the same time. So big things to come. Definitely been working hard behind the scenes for a lot of new projects. So stay tuned. Definitely be sure to subscribe, and I will see you guys tomorrow night.